unmasking mysteries, shocking truths behind 5 bizarre conspiracy theories.
Like daddy civilization, rolled by and just planted a few aliens at a similar time.
Like Prometheus.
Yes.
Yeah.
A different, throughout the galaxy. And those are the ones we might be interacting with. They're all kind of dumb as we are, relatively, maybe a few million years apart. And then those are the ones we're interacting with. And then we have a chance to actually connect with them and communicate with them. Or it could be like much more wide open. And you have these gigantic alien civilizations that are expanding very, very quickly. And the interesting thing is when you look up at the sky and you see the stars, that's light from those stars. We might not be seeing the alien civilizations until they're already here. Meaning,
right.
Like you start expanding, once you get really good at expanding, you're going to be expanding very close to the speed of light. So right now we don't see much in the sky, but there could be one day we wake up and it's just like everywhere, and they're here.
Right, because the amount of time the light takes to reach us. Yeah, and then the thing that I've been really fascinated by is these alternative forms of transportation that they're discussing, like the ability to harness wormholes and the ability to do things that a Type 3 civilization is capable of. I had Michio Kaku on my podcast recently. Yeah. Fantastic. Love that guy. He's so good at taking extremely complex concepts and boiling them down for digestion. And saying them in a way that other people can appreciate.
And not being hesitant about saying wild, crazy shit that's out there, but grounded in what's actually possible.
Yeah, he's all in on this UFO phenomenon now. He's like, now the burden of proof is for people to come up with some sort of a conventional explanation for these things. He goes, because these things are defying all the concepts of physics that we currently know in terms of what our capabilities are. And propulsion systems and so many other things that, what we know. George Bush Sr. said that they were going to go to the moon, back to the moon again. In like fucking, when was that? 1990 or whatever the hell that was? People have always said we're going to go back to the moon, but we haven't been back since 1972. Does that mean that we never went? No. But then it gets weird when you find out that Wernher von Braun was a fucking Nazi. Wernher von Braun, the guy he was the head of NASA. He was the guy who organized the moon landings, and he was the head rocket guy. That guy was a legit Nazi. Like, he was wanted by the Simon Wiesenthal Center said that if he was alive today, they would prosecute him for crimes against humanity. They would hang the 5 slowest workers every day in front of his Berlin rocket factory. Oh yeah. No, 100%. I mean, that's what they did. What they did was they took this thing, it was called Operation Paperclip, where when we won World War II, they took all the top Nazi scientists and they secretly brought them over to America. And they did it on the down low so that no one would think like, hey, why do we have a guy named Wernher von Braun running the American space program? Well, it's because the Nazi scientists were insanely advanced. So the question is like, well, were they really Nazis, or were they scientists that were under the boot of the Nazi administration? I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not around then. Yeah. But I do know that these are the people that were the head engineers and the people that designed it. Wernher von Braun himself was saying how impossible it was, just years before they did the moon landing and years before Operation Paperclip, that it was impossible to go to the moon, or how ridiculously impossible it would be. But technology advanced from then to when 1969 happened to when they did it. I stopped saying that we never went to the moon because I really don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And that's a big part of understanding these conspiracies. It's like, hard. You have to really know, how much do I know about rocketry? How much do I know about aerospace? Zero. Yeah. So if I'm running around saying I don't believe people went to the moon, what is it based on? It's based mostly on ignorance, speculation, and the excited feeling that comes with trying to uncover a conspiracy.
Sure, but I think you do have to be a little bit discerning on what you hear, but it is frustrating, and that's where a lot of these conspiracy guys they think they know more than they do, because you have to come to the realization that you're probably never going to know the real answer with a lot of these things.
There it is. Looking for C-split. Yeah, I think that's it. Right there. Let's see.
What it already spends. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
2.3.
Okay, now, again, somebody told you that literally, like, right before 9/11 happened, they said they couldn't track $2.3 trillion. You'd go, no, that didn't happen. That did not happen, but it did happen.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so think about what Kennedy said.
Yeah.
Think about what you saw when you saw that Vice movie where Dick Cheney, who was the CEO of Halliburton, becomes a vice president and gets billions of dollars in no-bid contracts. Now think about what we just saw with Donald Rumsfeld saying they couldn't find $2.3 trillion. I don't know where it went. I don't know. It seems like we should have had it. So like we'll keep looking. Oh no, the spot where we looked just blew up.
Oh my God. What the
Find out
hell?
if that's true. If it was the accounting office, because this is what I love to say it because it sounds good. But let's make sure it's true that part blew up. But either way, that he did say that, and then they did get hit by a plane a couple of days later.
It's unbelievable.
It's so crazy, and no one talks about that $1 trillion. No one talks about the 2.3 trillion.
2 trillion's bigger than most countries, right? That could build a whole nother country or something.
That's 2.3 million.
Oof.
Isn't it? No. Is it 1,000 trillion? Is a billion? Right? No, 1,000 billion. How? No, it's not even.
Yeah. Yeah. 1,000 billion's a trillion.
1,000 million is a billion.
Yeah.
Is 1,000 billion a trillion?
Yeah.
1,000 billion is a trillion, and it's
It's 999 billion.
2.3 billion trillion. Is that really what it is?
It's 999 billion times 2.
It wouldn't
plus
be billion trillion.
a couple more billions.
No, we're so stupid. It's
Roll that out.
makes the samurai noise.
Bigfoot.
But this, the guy who had the video is known to be like full of shit, and here he's got this guy on a show, and then he, is this real? You be the judge. Like, yeah, I'm gonna say it's not real. It's a guy with a fucking mask on.
I think I did read that guy was very not respected.
Yes,
In that,
by the Bigfoot community.
yeah.
The Bigfoot community. Again, very open-minded.
Yeah, he's very just into everything.
This other thing,
Like-
like they would see trees that would fall over like in certain patterns, and they were convinced that Sasquatch was leaning these trees against each other.
I thought it was to let you know where not to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had this idea. I mean, it's all theory, right? This idea
Yeah, I
that
think
the
I've been
reason-
following the wrong guy, dude. I believe all the stuff that you like's fake. I'm like, yeah. I only watched that Les Stroud one because of that other guy.
Well, I want it to be real. That's the thing.
I
man.
do too.
If someone had a convincing Bigfoot encounter where they caught it on video, where I was like, "Holy shit, what is that? Like, what is that?" Or there was something, but there's nothing. Like I've talked to a lot of those people when I did this show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything for Sci-Fi, and me and Duncan Trussell actually went camping in the Pacific Northwest. We didn't really camp. We pretended to go camping, and then we went to a hotel.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
came back the next morning, like, well, rough night of camping. But we were out there for days trying to look for Sasquatch and talking to people that hunt for Sasquatch. In the sky, and you see these crisscross patterns that they're spraying you. Mm-hmm. No one's spraying you.
Yeah.
This is just a natural reaction to jet engines and condensation in the atmosphere and the heat and the moisture of the jet engine. That's all it is.
They are actually talking about a way of using contrails for a kind of geoengineering. And this is something that people often get confused about because you see these two words together, contrails and geoengineering, and they think, oh, that's chemtrails. But what they're trying to do is use air traffic control and computers and weather forecasting to make it so the planes don't fly through the contrail forming areas when they would make contrails at night, and make it so they do fly through contrail forming areas when it would make contrails during the day.
So this is a conversation they're having, or something that's actually being...
It's not something that they've actually done,
Right.
but it's something that they can research fairly easily.
So if they were considering trying to heat up the atmosphere or heat up the Earth at night, they would just fly over these moisture-rich areas, and if they weren't, they would avoid them.
Yeah, but the goal obviously is to combat climate change, global warming,
right,
and cool the Earth down. So a relatively cheap way of doing that, to a degree, is to have these planes be controlled by computers, and it kind of increases fuel costs for the airline by about 2 or 3% because they have to make very deviations, sometimes in height and sometimes in direction. But it could actually have a significant effect on the Earth's climate if we had the entire world's airline fleets all in this program where they would fly, making contrails where they were needed and not making contrails where they were not needed.
And how exactly are they monitoring the moisture content in the atmosphere? Like, what are they using to do that? Satellites?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. They use sounding balloons, which are these weather balloons, basically, which got mistaken for UFOs quite a lot. And they use satellites, and they use planes sensing the environment when they're flying through it. And they use all these inputs, and it goes into a big computer model, which basically predicts what the humidity will be at any particular point. It's basically a big weather forecast for the upper atmosphere.